Hello, welcome to KraftingKitty. My name is Erin, and it's Saturday, so that means it's time for my weekly roundup. Yeah! So what's a weekly roundup? Well, weekly roundup is where I go through my week in crafting and I talk about the book I'm reading, and I'm now realizing I left that on my bedside table. It's okay, we're forging ahead. Nothing stops us here. Okay, so what I have today are 4 projects that are whips, works in progress, and then I have a pile of completed items. However, this is not all I have completed. I have a video that I need to upload. It is for July. Grammy Clean and I did 2 exchanges, and I need to upload her second one. So I've been hard at work at our August theme for the Between Friends collaboration, and I am very proud. I have planned, I'm not going to say, but I'm mostly done. So I might actually be on top of things and get it out in a timely fashion this time. Fingers crossed. But so I'm not going to share that. Actually, you know what? I wasn't going to share a couple of projects, but I am. So let's add one more whip to the pile, and then 2 more finished objects to the pile. Okay, so let's go through my finished objects. I don't know how many I have that I'm going to show, but I'm excited. So let's do this so this kind of makes a little bit of sense, huh? Okay, so first I've been working on my LYS hat challenge. A local yarn shop near me is doing a 23 hats in 23. If you make 23 hats using yarn you've purchased through their store, they will reward you with a hank of Mad Tosh. Awesome. Madeline Tosh yarn. So I figured why not? It's a challenge. I like it. It'll get me exploring new hats, and hats are a very easy way to try new yarns. So I had made a hat out of each of these yarns before, but I had some left over. So I thought I would try to make this hat. It doesn't have a name. So like last year, 2 years ago, Crystal BagODay did like a week of hats for Hat Not Hate. They're all blue. And this was like a shell stitch hat that she did, but it's kind of more of a spring hat. I don't know. It was really fun to make, but I only had partial skeins of each yarn left. It's this Lang Yarns Amira. And I had a little bit of this dark teal and then a little bit of this taupey, kind of mushroomy taupey color. In looking at it, I wish I had inversed the yarns. I wish I had used the taupe at the crown and then the darker at the bottom. But, yeah, hindsight is 50-50. This is the hat that it made. I still think it looks cool. I just think it might have looked cooler with the kind of mushroom taupe at the top. Oh well, it happens. I think it's fun. It was a lot of, well, it wasn't tons and tons of shells, but it was a lot of shells, and then there was like, the top was all post stitches, which is fun and nice to practice. So yeah, there we go. I did do more single crochets for the brim than she did in her pattern, but that's all personal taste and preference. So that is one more hat for my LYS challenge. I have to take that. I've actually have not made it down there for the last couple weeks, so I have a number of hats to turn in. But, so, with that dark teal, I didn't have enough to finish the last round of shells, obviously. But I had enough to make one more scrunchie, and this used every last bit of that yarn. And I know I didn't increase enough, so I learned from my mistakes on this, but I have put this in my hair and it works fine as a scrunchie. So this is one I will keep for myself and not donate since it's been in my hair. Or I guess not donate, give away. That's an Erin scrunchie. I guess that's what I'm saying. So I also got back on the sewing machine because I am trying to wrangle and use more of my fabric stash, and I very much want to get back into sewing more. So I've pulled a bunch of fabric out to make tote bags. So I made a bunch of tote bags, and then if you watched Seta at Setta's place, I had sent her a Star Trek bag and a little matching tote. I still have a small amount of that Star Trek fabric left over, so I made another little zippered notion pouch. And now, see, I made this one, I did consciously. The fabric should go like this. Yeah, it's technically directional. For Setta's, I totally didn't realize I had done it and made it this way. But because it's this way, that's just the length of fabric I had, so I just went with it. So I used another scrap of that for just a little kind of standard notions pouch. It's not lined, it's just a little pouch. You never can have too many little zippered pouches. And then I did finish a big project. The strawberry socks. So Chomps' strawberry socks are complete. So this I used the Premier Fruits sock yarn, and this is the kids knit sock pattern that shows up when you click on this yarn at premier.com. It is, I modified it a bit to get a length he likes, and I also modified the toe because I didn't like how the toe was working up. So there you go. Those are my two kind of modifications. And there you go. So I have another whip. 1 second. So when you look at the pattern, they say a child's pair of socks is going to take 2 50-gram balls. I used one ball for this pair of socks. And I had some left over. The leftover is what made me think of my other whip. That's going to be a long-term whip. I don't know what's going to go on with it, but it's a project I thought I might try. So here we go. Chomps' strawberry knit socks. Done. In the completed thing. Okay, this goes into my label box. I had some green cotton left over from that tote bag, so I made a cotton scrunchie. This is fun. I messed up my count for the chains, so there's a little blooper there, but it's a scrunchie. It's gonna get wrapped up in your hair. It'll look fine. So, I am also still making washcloths for the Starfish project, the American Starfish Association. Heather from Strings and Threads was doing a Scrubby Sunday video. They reached out to her looking for donations of washcloths. It's an organization that helps homeless veterans. And they make up they have cleaning stations, and they hand out washcloths and things to help. And so she was like, oh yeah. And then of course she puts the call out, and this association is, I'm sure, going to be inundated with washcloths. But that's awesome, because that's what we do. So I finished all of the Americana yarn I had, and that's been sent off. And so now I'm going to start making more. So this is, was this following another tutorial? Yes, this was. Okay, so this is following a Mikey at the Crochet Crowd, another tutorial. And what I didn't realize, I searched Tunisian crochet washcloths. And, just did add to watch later on a bunch of them, and I didn't pay attention to what stitches was. This one I thought was going to have a flower design on it, but it does not. It's a simple Tunisian stitch washcloth that he then shows you or describes how to use as a cross stitch fabric. I'm sorry, I'm getting a bunch of text messages from a group text. How you would use it as a background for cross stitching or embroidering a design on. So I made yet another Tunisian simple stitch washcloth. I think I am getting quite good at the Tunisian simple stitch washcloth. This is yarn. This is using it's this same yarn. It's the Loops and Threads Eco Cotton from Michaels. It's very nice. I really like this cotton. It feels fantastic. This I was given in some happy mail from Seta. So there we go. And she sent me 2 balls. This used half of one, so I'll make some more. next project I have on the completed list is I did complete that project that I just had to seam up last week. So this is the little knit headband or cowl. Chomps wants to use it as a cowl, and I think that'll be just fine. So this is using the Mary Maxim rag yarn. And there you go. I think it turned out very nice. He likes it. I mean, with how busy the yarn is, you kind of can't tell where I seamed it together, which is awesome. Like, if I look closely, I know where I did it. But I think with him just wearing it, it'll be hard to tell. So, bonus! That's done. This is just my own pattern I whipped up to try to think of a small knit project to see how the yarn worked. I still really like this yarn. I think it's wonderful. I think it's going to be warm. My only hesitation on it, like I said in the review, is how busy it is. It's going to be limiting on what types of projects you would use it for. But I think it's very nice. I love it. I'm going to put that like this. Okay. Now, what you did not see this week is my next Mary Maxim review, because I wanted to try to get my projects done for it. So I didn't have like half shown projects to share with you. And I did finish a crochet and a knit project with the yarn. I'm so excited. So I'm going to quickly show it, but I'm not going to go into a review of the yarn or anything like that, because that will be a whole separate video. So I used the Mary Maxim blankie yarn. And here I made just a single crochet hat to see how it worked up, because it's one of those self-patterning yarns. So I wanted to see, this is just one I freehanded off the top of my head. So no pattern here. It's all single crochets. It's more of a child size hat. And then this one I used a 5mm crochet hook with. I keep them together for the review. And then I whipped up a knit hat. And this one I used a US 8 5mm needles. I knit it flat and then seamed it up, which is not my preferred way to make a hat, but that's okay. Here you go. Again, I freehanded this one, and as you can tell, I messed up the crown a little bit. It's a little cone-headed, but that's okay. I really wanted to stretch the yarn a bit to get all of the color sections in, and I did it. It's kind of slouchy, but yeah, it's a hat. Again, I freehanded it, so it didn't follow any pattern. For knit hats, you know, Cinnamon Stitches recently kind of describes how she freehands a hat, and I do it very similar. I don't always do 2x2 rib, but I generally cast on 72 stitches, and then I'll either do a 1x1 or a 2x2 rib. I didn't generally do that for 10 rounds, and then I'll switch to just stockinette. And I like to decrease down until I have 12 stitches left. So I do it for 7 or 8 inches. Then I decrease down until I have 12 stitches left on the needles, cinch it up, sew it together, you're good to go. Generally, with my decreases, I would do decrease, knit 1 round, decrease, knit 1 round, decrease, knit 1 round. This one I decreased, and then I did, so I'm working it in stockinette. I worked it flat. So I did my decrease, I did a round of purl, a round of knit, a round of purl, and then I did a decrease. So it was like a 4-round decrease almost. So that's why I have the cone-ness to it. If you had taken out those extra rounds, it would be much flatter and more beanie shaped, if that makes sense. Yeah, a good basic hat pattern is the Ross hat by is his channel Smells Great Guy? Everybody knows Ross. Can't believe I'm blanking on his channel name, but Smells Like Yarn, Smells Great Guy. That guy has a Ross hat. It is a perfect basic beanie, and the pattern is written for almost every weight of yarn. I believe it's missing a 2-weight, or when I printed it, I think, I don't know. I did see that 1 weight of yarn was not there, but it's not one that I was worried about, so there we go. Okay, so that's all of my completed objects. Like I said, I'm not going to go too far into reviewing that specific yarn. You'll have to check it out when I get that video up. So let's start my whips, works in progress. I thought, since I had some extra time, I would try to work up a swatch of Tunisian crochet with that blanket yarn. So that's what I'm doing. So we can give that perspective. As I've said, I'm not very well versed in Tunisian, so it's just a Tunisian simple stitch, and my idea is to make something very similar to the neck warmer cowl ear warmer thing I made out of the knit rag yarn, and we'll see how it works up. Who knows? You never know. But that's a gigantic ball of yarn, so I'm going to have tons of extra yarn left over. If you're curious, there I'm using a 6mm Tunisian crochet hook. The whip that the sock reminded me of. When I finished that one ball, I had some yarn left over, not tons, but some. So I thought, what am I going to do with this? At first I thought, well, I'll keep it for heels and toes. It was less than what you would need for heels and toes. And I didn't want to throw it away because it was more than I wanted to throw away. So I thought, I'm going to make a scrap blanket. Why do I do this? Oh, this is one of the tote bags. I also finished this. It's a mini tote. I was experimenting. I don't like how thin the handles turned out, but it's an experiment. I made this week too. Why I decided I wanted to crochet a fingering weight blanket, I don't know. I don't know why these things go through my head, but it's basically going to be an ever-expanding granny square is my plan. I pulled out my is this my 2mm? My 2mm dots hook, because I figured, when else am I going to use that bad boy, and threw it in the project bag, and started my teeny tiny granny square. So here you go. My idea is when I finish socks, just tie it on, continue the granny square. Is it going to be cohesive in colors? Heck no. Is it going to be the largest, tiniest granny square ever? Probably. Right now I'm on round 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm starting round 5. And this is how big it is. It's like stiffer and denser than I ever thought it would be. I think maybe I should have grabbed the 3mm crochet hook out of the Dots crochet hook box. But I'm not going back now. What's done is done, and this is the happening, I guess. So I just have that thrown in there, and then I have a little sheet of paper with the basic pattern. I'm doing a 3 double crochet granny cluster, 1 chain in between all of the clusters. My corners are going to be 3 DC chain, 3 DC. There you go. That's what I'm doing. I think we'll only get updates on that blanket when I have new sock yarn to add to it. And like I said, I'm only going to add the sock yarn when there's a small amount that I wouldn't reasonably hold for heels and toes or anything like that. Or basically if I'm just like, I'm done with that yarn, I'll throw it in the blanket. That's the plan. So then, talking about socks, Bingo wanted some fruit socks. It's in another Queen's Quest by Bridget sock bag. This one I believe she calls, this is the 100 gram only bag. This is like the one that's only supposed to hold 100 grams of yarn. I have of course shoved a bunch of other things in it and it's not closing. But that's how I roll. I'm using kind of the same pattern. It's not going to be the same at all. She wants shorty socks. So I've started her pattern and she wanted the yarn that is orange. So she wanted the Premier Fruits orange. That's what I'm using. I'm using the same needle, my Clover Takumi US 2 9-inch circular. And yep, I'm going for it. It's kind like, I'm basically following the Crazy Sock Ladies 9-inch vanilla sock pattern on 9-inch circular needles, which is very similar to the pattern that is the kids knit socks pattern that you get from Premier on the Premier website. There are some differences The Premier pattern tells you to use DPNs. My DPNs were sliding out, so I switched to my 9-inch circular, and it's working lovely. So there we go. It is begun. I finished, so I'm only going to do I did a 10 round 2x2 rib for the ribbing section. I'm going to do just 20 rounds for the cuff, and then I'll do the heel, and then the foot will actually be the same size as Chomps, so I just need to quick count how many rounds I did on his sock, so I can jot that down so I don't have to measure, like measuring tape. I don't like measuring my knit projects as I'm working with them. It just breaks the flow, you know what I mean? So yeah, there we go. The the stitch markers I'm using are just the random light bulb stitch markers I picked up off of Amazon. And what else are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about Darla. So we are doing the KraftingKitty Creator Spotlight once again. And this month it is Crafty Yarn Owl with Darla. I love her pattern. She is the sweetest person. I adore her. She is so kind. And I am having so much fun making this shawl. So I make an item every time. Well, I started this maybe 3 months in. I started it with Fiber Spider. So that was October. And I think I started this. Are we officially a year old? I think the KraftingKitty Creator Spotlight might be officially a year old. I feel like we started last August. Okay, yes! August 2022 was our first KraftingKitty Creator Spotlight. It was BagODay. KraftingKitty Creator Spotlight for... Who was the second one? Who was September? Can I just see? Why don't I have it? Oh, why do I bury the lead? Why do I bury my own lead? I'm going to click it. It's probably going to start playing the video. Oh, it's not. It's not. Close. What are you doing? It was Creative Grandma. It was Creative Grandma. Okay, I'm just backing out. I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, I don't know why I did that. I'm going to edit a lot out there. Anyway, so I am so excited. I did not realize that. No, just go back to studio. What are you doing? Dashboard. There we go. Dashboard is perfect. Okay, so, oh, this is exciting. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us for a year of this adventure. How the time flies. So, anyway, we're doing Crafty Yarn Owl with Darla this month. And I make a project I started with, like I said, Fiber Spider. And I'm still getting... Oh! That is not my group text. Oh my god, I'm so excited. Okay, so I know I've interrupted Darla like so many times. I just gotta notice that a package is out for delivery. I have been waiting and waiting and waiting to order from Stenley, from pleta.bg. And I finally told Brian I wanted to make a larger order. And I have like this rule, it's an internal rule, where I have to finish 10 projects before I allow myself a reward yarn order. I've talked about this before. So I told Brian I wanted to make a large order, but in order to justify that, I was going to bank 30 projects. So I was going to do three rewards all in one. And I did it. And I was good. So like when I placed some interim orders, I subtracted one. So I got 30 projects banked. So you guys don't see absolutely every project I make here. You know, sometimes it might be something little that I just whip up fast for the kids and do it. So I did 30 projects and I placed the Stenley order and I just got a DHL notice that it is out for delivery. So excited. I have one cake of Stenley yarn. Back at the end of 2022, I bought a mystery box from Crystal at BagODay. and it had a Stenley cake in it. That's the only Stenley I've had or seen in my hands. So, oh, this is exciting. So much excitement today. Okay, phew. Deep breath, Erin. We are going back to Darla. Darla at Crafty Yarn Owl with Darla. I'm making a project. I am making her new, it's not her newest, but her Jacob's Ladder shawl, and I am having so much fun with it. This is such a fun pattern. Here I am. It is getting substantial. I was questioning last week if the yarn choice was good. The more I work with it, the more I really, really like it. So I think it's a great yarn choice. I think this is going to be so much fun. And so this is the wingspan right now. It's only going to get bigger. I may be half done with I'm using Caron big cakes. I think I'm half done with the first big cake. So I do think I am going to dive into the second one, because this is going to be big. You know, when I make shawls, they become shanklets. And that's what this is going to become. So here's the yarn I'm using, Caron Big Cakes. The colorway is Cake Pop. I think it's Cake Pop. Cake Pop. I think it's so fun. It's so graphic. It's just exciting. 100% acrylic. I've learned that lesson where I should make these projects out of acrylic so we don't run into wool aversions or issues. But here we go. I love it. I think it's turning out so lovely. And this is, I've got some fiber in my throat. I inhaled so excitedly with the Stenley thing. This is a fantastic veg out watching television project to do. It is wonderful. I love it. I can't recommend it enough. So I'm plugging along there, and I figure I'll stop when it reaches my wingspan. That's kind of what I always say, so we'll see. And then, what's my other project we have? Oh, this is going way long, but I'm gonna edit a bunch out. Okay, so I have worked more on my green giant hat. This is a free pattern I got off of Ravelry. The pattern designer, is your name here, please? Please, Julie Vasati Kovacs. It'll be linked down below. All of the things that I make, all the patterns when it's a pattern, will be linked down below. There you go. This yarn, this hat was specifically designed with this yarn in mind, so when I found it, I thought it was perfection. I'm using Malabrigo. Oh, it's in the zipper pouch. I tried to get it out, and it's a clear zipper pouch. Malabrigo Rasta yarn in 866, which is Arco Iris. There you go. And this is where the hat is at. I'm using, what millimeter are you? It's US 13, 9 millimeter knitting needles, working in the round. Here's the hat. The knitting needles are a bit too long for it. They're 29 inches, but I'm kind of just pulling it out, kind of magic loop-esque to make it work, because I don't often work with yarn of this size, so I don't really have many needles of this size. The bag is just the free Susan Bates bag I got from a Yarn Inspirations order, and the stitch marker is from Angela at My Precious Yarnery, and that's just to mark the front, the end of my round. It has no real function than that in knitting. And you might be saying, Erin, why don't you have a normal stitch marker on for that instead of one of the claw ones? It's because I didn't have a stitch marker that would fit over the 9 millimeter needles, so I made do. And then my final work in progress, the stitch marker I'm using for the Jacob's Ladder shawl is also from Angela at My Precious Yarnery. The final project I have to share is I did get some work done on the green baby blanket. So this is a baby blanket I'm making following a BagODay tutorial. It is, she calls it the brick stitch in the tutorial. I don't believe it has a name other than like easy baby blanket. But I am plugging along and reaching the end. I've just tied on my 4th ball of this yarn, and I only have, so I'm on 2, 4, So if this is 62, 64, I've got 4 rows left, and then I will start the border. So here it is. It's beautiful. It's lovely. This is using some of the Turkish direct yarn from Hirschner's. I've checked. It's no longer on their site, or they've changed the name. I can't find it. So I'm not sure if it's still available at all, but it's working up lovely. I quite like it. It's a beautiful kind of minty pale green. This fabric is so squishy and soft and nice. I think this is going to be a wonderful baby blanket. I'm using an array of stitch markers just to count rows because I was sick of going back and counting. The crochet hook is my 6mm Susan Bates crochet hook. And I did decide I am going to use white for the border. So I've thrown some Craft Smart white into the bag. And then I also... Oh, I thought I wrote it down, but now I don't remember. I was also given the idea to add some flowers, like in one corner, since I know it's for a baby girl. And I think I am going to do that. I'll probably use the mint and the white yarn to kind of make, I'm thinking a cluster of 3 flowers in a corner. Might be pretty. We'll see. But there you go. That is my update for the week, as chaotic as it was. I apologize. So the update on my book, I continue to enjoy it. I'm reading Victory City by Salman Rushdie. I didn't realize I had it for so long. I actually had to do an extension from my library, which is kind of exciting. But yeah, I'm over halfway done. I have about 100 pages left, and it's enjoyable. It's written very much in like a legend format. It's very deeply of Indian. I think last month I said Buddhist culture accidentally. It's definitely Hindu. And yeah, it's very interesting. I'm enjoying it. I like it. It has very strong I guess I'll say feminist undertones to it. There's definitely some critiques of society in it, which I think are very well handled. It's not slap you in the face type thing. So yeah, I enjoy it. I quite like it. Okay, so yeah, I'm plugging away. I actually got a notice that 2 more of my holds are available. I was like 6th on the list, and they've now become available, so I'm gonna have to pick those up at some point, or maybe I can just put myself back down on the wait list. I don't know how that works. We'll see. But anyway, I'm plowing ahead on everything. I can't be stopped. I'm a juggernaut. Okay. I've had 2 cups of coffee today. Maybe that was 1 cup too many. Okay.